morning, you guys. I thought I would come and talk about my migraine and do an update because I haven't done one for about 6 months. I know I've done a video on the greater occipital nerve block that I had, the first one, and I've probably mentioned it in ironing chats, but I've not actually done an update video, and so I thought it was worthwhile doing. The reason I've not done any videos is because there hasn't been a significant difference since I last updated you guys. I think I had been to my neurologist when I last updated you and talked about the fact that he was happy to keep prescribing tramadol, which was great because that is the only thing that works for me as a rescue medication, as a pain medication. But obviously to keep on only taking it on 15 days, which I do. I still do my bloody migraine diary and, note down everything. And I sort of plan my week around tramadol, unfortunately. But also he had suggested I could increase my gabapentin, but I'm on a lot. I'm on 900 3 times a day, which is a high dose. Anybody that's on it, like I've got a friend that is going through chemotherapy and she got neuropathy in her feet because of it, and she got gabapentin and she was like on 300 twice a day and she couldn't believe the dose I was on. But it took a lot to get to that dose. It took a while of going through the side effects to get to that dose. It definitely works because yesterday I tried to reduce one and I had such a bad migraine by the evening. It was awful. So I do know that the gabapentin is working for me. Now, the gabapentin is working to an extent. It's not a miracle cure. There is no miracle cure for migraine. And I think that's what I've been expecting and everybody else has been expecting, But it does help in that I can... On bad days, I can still do things. I've said this a million times, but I can still do things. I can do things in the house. But I still have noise phobia. I still struggle to take Watson for a walk. I struggle to be able to think straight is a big thing. And I don't know how much of that is the gabapentin, how much is the migraine, because gabapentin can have that effect as well. But yeah, that's where I am. I still have a migraine most days. I had, I think, one sticker day. If you've been with me a while, you'll know what a sticker day is. Basically a day where I didn't take any pain medication and I didn't need any, and it was still a great day and I still felt normal. Actually, do you know what? I don't think I've taken my tramadol today, which is a bloody miracle because that sticker day was a fair few weeks ago. Anyway, that would be great if today was a sticker day because I don't feel... I've got a headache, but it's just a headache, and I can cope with a headache, but I haven't got the migraine. Ooh, that's really interesting. That's really exciting. So yeah, I would say maybe one day a month, if I'm lucky, I can go without pain relief and still have a normal day. The other days, the days where I take tramadol don't always work either. Some days it will work a tiny amount for a couple of hours and then the rest of the day it doesn't work at all. And I've had a bad few weeks actually. Sorry, I'm struggling to know what to say without sounding too... I don't want to sound too negative. I don't want to sound too repetitive, but I know that a lot of you are also struggling with migraines and also a lot of other health issues, and bless you are asking me for updates. And so I do want to update everybody where I'm at, but I feel like I'm just sort of almost at a stage of accepting it, and... I don't know that I'm ready to, because there are people saying, you have to be thankful for the things you have and everything. I'm very, very grateful for what I have. I'm grateful that I'm not, if I wasn't with Kev, I'd be on benefits, and I have been on benefits before. It was called incapacity benefit at the time. And again, it was due to my health actually, it was because of my bladder issues. And I actually did that. I did have redundancy money, but I did it so that it would pay my stamp duty, not stamp duty, you know what I mean, NHS. What do I mean? National insurance. That's what I mean. So that I could get a pension. And again, the benefits is not a problem. It's just that I would be in a very different situation, in a very different living situation, very, very different situation. And so I'm extremely grateful for that. But it's hard to, people say, don't let this pain define you and blah, blah, blah. And I remember my dad talking about it actually, because I remember my dad suffered with this as well, but we didn't really know it when he was alive. Although I did tell him that the neurologist said it was genetic and my mum doesn't have it, but it was exactly as my dad described it to me. But he used to say, and I thought, oh God, you cannot say that, but he used to say that he would feel if he had a broken leg and was in a wheelchair or something that meant he was dependent on a wheelchair, that he would almost be able to enjoy life more. And remember, he worked with a lot of people in wheelchairs, But I actually now do understand what he's saying, because if I had something that didn't affect my head, there are many things I could do. You know, if I could, I would write, I would read, I would listen to music, I would move around and do things. And I think that's what my dad was trying to say, that because it affects your head and you feel confused and you can't really focus on anything and you have no energy, you literally can't do anything. And so it's really hard. It's a really hard illness to ignore. I suppose every illness is for different reasons, but this one in particular, these migraines, are just so hard to continue having a life, because you can't have a life. It's like I can't hear anything. Everything hurts my head, you know, and I do have light sensitivity sometimes, not all the time. I sometimes have zigzags, and even when the zigzags are happening, it's like there's nothing you can do, because you can't watch anything. You can't you know, it's just really, really weird. So it's a hard thing to accept, because I still want to I want to work. That's the thing. Whatever that work may be, whether it is going somewhere to work, whether it's, you know, doing something more on YouTube, whether it's doing something else, I would like to work. And at the moment it's extremely difficult because I only have a few healthy hours. That said, it's way better than it was, you know, when I talked about the Dignitas thing. Remember, I was only starting to consider Dignitas. I had not booked Dignitas. I had not even spoken to them. I know that it takes years, you know, anyway, that's an aside. But things were so bad then where I was useless. I could barely function with what I needed to do with Watson. I could barely feed and walk him when I needed to. And I only needed to do little walks with him because he goes to a dog walker. Now I can do a lot more. I feel like I can function a lot more. A lot of the time it's not enjoyable. Like today, if my migraine comes on, probably now I'll try and get through the day without tramadol if I can, being as I've got so far. And I'll need to take Watson out this afternoon. Yesterday I took him out. I was on tramadol yesterday though, and I really enjoyed. We had a lovely long walk. I played some games with him while I was out. I came home and did his physio and a little bit of training. We had a good laugh. It was really lovely, and I really enjoy that. But that feeling of being pain-free and clear-headed doesn't happen very often for me, which I feel guilty about for Watson. But what I mean is today will probably be very different. We'll see. Maybe I'm having a sticker day, which would be fantastic. And I'm going to manifest that, you know, and hope for that and expect that. But if it doesn't work out that way, I will do the minimum for him, which is walk him. And so I'll be dragging myself around and kind of wanting to put sunglasses on and hoping I don't see anybody I know around here, which is difficult because we all know each other with dogs, you know, because I know people want to speak. And then I'll come home and I won't be able to do any physio or training with him because I can't really focus on thinking how to do it. And so I end up giving him, you know, a chew or something like that. So it's a very different life. But I do think I'm at the place where there's almost no hope now, you know, for what? There's almost no hope for what? I don't feel hopeless, but actually on paper, there's very little that can be done. So I do have on my phone a kind of migraine hope list. And I guess this is what I'm hoping for anyway. And one of the things, the first thing on the hope list is postmenopause. And I've said this to you guys, I'm postmenopausal. I had a greater occipital nerve block 2.5 weeks ago now. That may be it kicking in. If today is a sticker day, then it may be that kicking in. And I think it kicked in more than I thought last time. I wasn't like skipping around and I didn't have a complete week or anything, you know, free of migraines. But overall, I could do more and I was better on the non-tramadol days. But the woman that did the greater occipital nerve block said to me she thinks it will slowly get better post-menopause. That's what she's seen in her headache clinic that she worked at in the Glasgow hospital, that people in post-menopause, it just gradually improves. So let's hope so. Because the past few days I haven't slept a bloody wink. So definitely menopausal symptoms, you know. Oops. I thought I deleted my whole list there, but I hadn't. So postmenopause. So I'm hopeful about that things will get better. I've put aspirin down. I don't know why I put aspirin down. LDN, that's low dose naltrexone. That's something to consider. It's a really tricky one. It's a tricky one to get hold of. I haven't even asked my neurologist about it. I think he would just be a straight no, because if it's not on the NHS, they're not really going to be able to consider it. So I'd have to try and get a private doctor's appointment, I think, and then it needs to go to a compounding pharmacy. I don't know how that would work. Plus, I wouldn't be able to take tramadol, but that is on my list. There's lots of things on my list. Hashish is on my list, but I can't see hashish working. You know how you can get cannabis legally now, medically. I think I could get it. But I feel like that is something that makes you more tired than that calms you down. I don't need that. I need something to clear my head and help with my energy levels, as well as the headache part of it. You know, it might work on the headache part of it, but I think it might just make me more fatigued. Trauma release is something I've looked at. It's like trauma release exercises. I need to do a bit more of that. Meditation. And progesterone, I think, is an option, because I believe from experience that it's the estrogen, that when I take HRT, it's the estrogen that exacerbates my migraines. So I'm not about to take estrogen again, but progesterone has helped some people with migraines. So it might be worth taking that, because that's not, you know, hopefully that shouldn't then affect my head. That would also help with sleep. However, it wouldn't help the bladder issue. It's also complex. There's a few other medications that my neurologist has put on the list. You know, there's something called sodium valproate. There's pizotofen. There's zonisamide. There's quite a few drugs. The problem is now I'm on gabapentin and it's working for me for the neuropathy that I have in my feet. It's working for that. And yeah, it would be difficult with all the drugs I'm on to then have another drug in my system. And I feel like I'd really prefer not to. Certainly at the moment, I'm not at that, you know, when you get to that desperation stage, it's like when I went to have the first greater occipital nerve block, things were so bad. I was like, I started crying when he said he could do the greater occipital nerve block on that day, because I didn't think that was going to happen. And I was crying happy tears, you know. I was like, oh my God, there's a possibility I can get some relief here. And people have said to me, oh, you're so brave. My mum said to me, you're so brave letting them, you know, put injections in your neck and all of that. And I'm like, it didn't feel brave. I actually, if he'd have said, I'll pluck your eye out and that will help, I'd have probably let him, you know, because I was in so much pain every day, all day. Things are definitely better with gabapentin. And so I'm not quite as desperate, if that makes sense. And I also have the tramadol and know that that's okay to be taken. It's not ideal, but it's okay. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm definitely not ready to get a full-time job. I don't know if I ever will be. I don't think I'll ever be able to work full-time, but I could potentially work part-time. I still, even if I could do that, I still have the what's an issue in that we don't leave him alone, and so it would be really tricky. But I'm sure there's a way of working around that. I do leave him sometimes, so it's not impossible. I could work at a job where I could take him with me. I'd love to work with animals, but I think I'm just too emotional, to be honest. And also allergic to a lot of them. I'd love to do grooming again. That would be my ideal. My ideal would be there's two scenarios. One is to do grooming, to open up my grooming salon again, because I was full before and there's more doodles about now than there was then. And I was full of pretty much only doodle mixes. I did a spaniel. What else? A sprudel. I'm trying. No, that's a doodle mix. A spaniel, I think, is the only non-doodle mixed dog I did. So that's scenario number one. Scenario number two is to have a second dog and do stuff on YouTube. You know, whether it's like training or something like that. Do training videos on YouTube. But I think that's. I don't know that that's possible. I think it's a tricky thing to film. And also, I don't want to get a second dog. I would love to get a second dog, but we can't get a second dog whilst I'm feeling like this. It's not fair, you know. Like I can barely look after Watson. And I want all my energy focused on him, and especially with the arthritis, I have to take him swimming and all of that at the moment. But also, we couldn't financially afford a second dog just now. It's kind of ironic. The dog might pay for itself doing YouTube, but we can't afford to get the dog. Is that bit of hair there? What is going on there? I think that's everything in regard to where I'm at. I don't know if I'm squinting or not, but I've got the light up really, really bright because it's pretty dark in here, even though I've got the overhead lights on. I would like the house to be lighter if possible. I was just thinking that's one of the things we could do, because Kev was saying, you know, we could why don't we spend money on the living room and do the things that we've always wanted to do, like move the radiator so that we can put the TV in a different position, buy some different living room furniture. It's kind of the thing that we've had the kitchen done, we've had the bathroom done. We've never really done anything with the living room and hall, and I was just thinking what we could do is have more lights on the ceiling. That would be really good, so it was lighter in here. That would be lovely. Yeah, there's nothing happening. There's nothing planned at the minute migraine-wise other than to just live my life, get through, the funeral's coming up for Kev's dad. Watson with his arthritis, I want to focus on that. I am doing a lot of other work, like listening to meditations, and I'm always working through the pain reprocessing therapy. I want to do more somatic tracking, which is something that you can do when you get the pain and things like that. And so I'm kind of at a plateau at the moment, and I'm not today feeling too depressed about it. I had a bit of a day yesterday because yesterday was a really bad day, and of course that gets you down. But then once you have a good day, you can be more positive. I think the difficulty, like when I was really bad, was that just there were no good days. My tramadol wasn't even working, and it was just a struggle. But at least I'm getting some good days. So I wake up and I don't know if I'm going to have a good or bad day, which is not as bad as waking up and going, I know I'm going to have a bad day, So that's everything. Let me know how you guys are doing. I'd love to know what's going on with you guys. I might do a menopause update soon because, like I said, I've got these blooming on-off symptoms. Like I've got this crazy insomnia. The last 3 nights I haven't slept. When I say I haven't slept, actually I have. I'll go to bed at 10, go to sleep, wake up about 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock and feel like it's the morning and I've slept for like 2 or 3 hours and then I can't get back to sleep. And I tend to nod off, but then I wake up and I see every single hour, and that's gone on for the last 3 nights. And I think it went on for about a month before. So I don't know. We'll see what happens over the next week. And there's the bladder thing, and yeah, there's a whole bunch going on. But let me know how you guys are doing. Lovely to see you. Lovely to be on here chatting to you guys. I do feel like I'm chatting to people. And thank you so much for listening. I'll speak to you soon.